On today's wrestling news, Antonio Inoki has died.
Warner Brothers Discovery apparently attempted to convince Cody Rhodes to stay in AEW.
WWE are concerned about Randy Orton's injury.
And a huge Mask versus AEW career match is set for next week's Rampage.
Are you ready? Are you ready for the news time? Yes, my name is Phil Chambers and I'm joined by Gareth Morgan to talk all things wrestling news. But before we get into it, make sure you like the video, comment down below what you think of each of today's stories, subscribe to the channel, and links to each story are in the description. Click the timestamps and off you go. But first up, some sad news, and the legend, absolute massive legend, Antonio Inoki has died, aged 79. He's been battling some health conditions for quite some time now, but he was a huge figure in Japanese pro wrestling and just pro wrestling in general, and a WWE Hall of Famer as well to boot. So not only was he a huge star in his own right in terms of wrestling, he also founded New Japan Pro Wrestling back in 1972. He was a massive early pioneer of mixed martial arts, bringing in sort of wrestlers together with like top champions from karate and judo, and most famously probably boxing, when he obviously faced Muhammad Ali back in 1976 when he fought him to a draw. He also then entered the world of politics after doing his wrestling run, championing sports and peace throughout his political career. He went to Iraq to negotiate the release of Japanese citizens who were held hostage there. He went to North Korea a bunch of times. He wrestled in the main event of the highest attended pro wrestling event in history in North Korea, when he faced Ric Flair. He beat Ric Flair in the main event in front of a reported 190,000 people, which is absolutely insane. And he tried to use sort of sports to bring people together in North Korea, and he also negotiated the release of Japanese citizens who have been abducted to the north while he was there as well. So he's had this insane career that spanned all these different things, and an absolute huge star and a massive name in the world of pro wrestling. And he has unfortunately died aged 79, obviously, and it's just a sad thing.
It really is, and I think it's always a testament to the individual when you see the widespread of how many different people from different walks of life within the wrestling world are quick to pay tribute. Do you know what I mean? The people like Triple H is very quick to put a tweet out. I think they talked about it on SmackDown. Tony Khan did something similar as well, and everyone's just in shock a little bit because he is such a massive figure within wrestling. Like you're saying, he forged one of the biggest companies, one of the most ever-present companies within wrestling ever, New Japan. It's just been so long-running, long-standing, and then you look at what he did within the ring himself. It's just... There are very few figures like that who've just been crossover stars as well, and just had the kind of fingerprints on so many different parts of not just wrestling but combat sports in general. He was heavily involved with Pride and stuff like that. He's a huge person, huge personality, and I don't know, it's just one of those moments that 2022 just keeps on giving these shocking headlines that you didn't expect to read, and it's like, well, what do we do now? We just got to celebrate these kind of figures and just tip the cap to all the good things they did. And yeah, it's just one of those things. So all of our respects, like we just said there, to Inoki and all of his family. But in other news within the wrestling sphere currently, one of the biggest stories that happened over the course of 2022 was Cody Rhodes moving over to WWE. But it's now been reported by Fightful Select, according to a number of Warner Brothers Discovery sources, that they were actually trying to keep hold of Cody Rhodes and trying to make him stay, not make him stay, but convince him to stay within AEW and not go to WWE. Said that several efforts were made to keep the American Nightmare from kissing goodbye to All Elite Wrestling, and even though he said that he was said to have had a pretty good relationship still with Warner Brothers Discovery, him and Brandy, the likes of the Associate General Manager and Senior Vice President of Scripted Original Programming for TBS, TNT and True TV, Sam Linsky, were of the many people who were said to have tried to convince him to stay put, but it just didn't really work, did it? He was saying to people that it was just time to leave the territory. Typical old school Cody Rhodes, just feeling it was time to move on to the next territory, brother, and all that kind of stuff. But it was just one of those things. It's a really interesting one to break down, because within this report as well, it says that he only actually signed for WWE a couple of weeks before WrestleMania, but WWE themselves were thinking this is a foregone conclusion. He wants to come back, and they were quite happy to do that. But just as Warner Brothers and Discovery merged, that's when this new conglomerate, this new kind of combined company were thinking, right, we'll try and get Cody together. And this was outside of AEW. They were trying to tell him to stay put, really, because they could offer him so many different opportunities. They were already connected to a number of different TV shows, Brandy and Cody, and there was talk of them being apparently a part of the upfronts like for the next kind of like batch of television and everything else. And it wasn't really known whether this was to do with AEW or the other shows that they were a part of, or maybe even both, but they felt like a really vital part of what Warner Brothers Discovery were trying to build going forward. And they openly admitted that they wanted him back, but that it wasn't a deal breaker to keep AEW the thing that it is right now, keep it going, keep it ticking over, because they are very happy with AEW still, and their viewing figures, specifically in September, which were pretty damn good. So I think this is just an interesting another wrinkle to everything that was going down with Cody Rhodes in the lead up to his departure from AEW to go to WWE.
Yeah, it's interesting this. I think it's quite rare when the TV company is the one fighting for the wrestler to kind of stay on that brand. But it's kind of obvious that they were high on Cody throughout all this, like, and Brandy as well. Like they had the Go Big Show thing, and he
Rhodes
wasn't
to
on,
the
like,
top.
some other. Yeah, that's the one. And he was like a host on some other like celebrity panel show thing or something, wasn't he? Like, so he had a bunch of things going on outside of the wrestling world, but he's a wrestling guy. He's from the wrestling family. He's always going to be the wrestling guy. And obviously the draw of sort of that match at WrestleMania and the run he had in WWE was too strong, even for all his outside career choices. So hopefully, he just picked the best thing for him. He obviously did. It seems like he did. And went all credit to him, considering the offers that must have been on the table on the other side.
Yeah, he could have been this huge crossover. He already was, to a certain degree, that big crossover star for AEW within Warner Brothers. So it takes some serious guts just to go, you know what? I don't want to be the face of AEW and Warner Brothers. I'm going to go back to WWE and bet on myself. So fair play to him, to be honest.
But moving over to WWE for a bit, and Randy Orton's back injury. He has been out since the May 20th episode of SmackDown when he lost the tag team titles. But Meltzer is now reporting that apparently backstage within WWE, there is a lot of concern regarding Orton's back injury and its severity. So not a lot of information to go on this, just cause for concern within WWE. There were reports back in June that if he did need surgery for his back injury, he would end up being out for the entirety of 2022, but there's no word yet on if he's had the surgery or not had the surgery. But it's just generally not looking great for Randy Orton's back injury, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I remember when Riddle came out on Raw a week or two maybe after he'd actually gone down injured and talking about how bad the back injury was, and a lot of us were kind of sat there thinking, oh yeah, it's just a way of selling it and adding more storyline weight to things. But with this report, it's a bit like, oh, did Riddle know something we didn't? Like, I hope he's all right, obviously, because he's an absolute legend and he's worked a style for like so many years that seemed to prevent this sort of injury, let's say, because he seemed to be working for so long and putting on so many like decent performances because he wasn't just breaking his body in half. But it looks like something has been kind of accumulating over the years, and yeah, it's one of them. You can't escape a bump. That's it. So hopefully he's all right. It's one of them. I mean, first and foremost, you want a decent quality of life. Wrestling's second to that. So as long as he can get himself fit enough to enjoy the rest of his life, that's what's most important. If he can wrestle after that, that's great. But it's just hoping that Mr. Orton is okay to just be the Viper he is and just be snaky outside of wrestling. But I don't know how this links to that, but we're going to talk about AEW Rampage, because there's been a pretty interesting match that's been announced for this week, and I didn't see it coming, but it's going to be a Mask versus Andrade leaves AEW match. That's pretty much how it's like set out on Twitter. It's very odd.
Could you not tell by the storyline leading up to this?
Of course. Well, there's been something of a storyline. Don't know if it's necessarily played out on All Elite programming, but Andrade's kind of been fueling the flames of being maybe one of the individuals who's looking to get out of AEW right now. Recently, he's been doing a hashtag free El Idolo thing on Twitter. I think he put an image, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, of him literally doing the DX chop thing. So he knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people have been saying he's not been utilised well enough on AEW, all this kind of stuff. I think I read a stat of like out of the 14 matches he's had in AEW, like 7 of them have been multi-people matches, like just that kind of stuff. It doesn't seem like he could be too happy right now. So Tony Khan has doubled down on this speculation and made this match. And on the other side of the coin, which adds a bit more emotional weight to things, it's going to be the 2-year anniversary of the late Mr. Brody Lee's final match in AEW. So 10 is putting the mask that Brody gave him on the line here. So that's a massive thing as well. So you've got two stakes there on either side of the match that are quite easy to invest in. So He's got me. My God, he's got me.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, this one. In terms of the television, it's come out of completely nowhere. But if Andrade is unhappy about his position, it's kind of warranted. He's been there for a long time. They've done very, very little with it. And it's just one of those things that happens when you have a roster as big as AEW has. These things are going to happen. So it makes, in terms of me personally, it makes no sense to keep these people around when you're not going to be using them, and it's just going to make them disgruntled, which is going to make them upset backstage, which is going to add to sort of just general dis-ease in the locker room. So if this is a way of writing him out, then great, at least Andrade can go off and do whatever it is he wants to do, whether it's in AAA or maybe WWE or whatever. And if not, then at least it's a storyline that's bringing it in, and then maybe he does win, and then they just use it as an excuse to unmask 10 to make him more of a character on screen. Who the hell knows?
But there are possibilities, Phil, and that's what's most important right now. There's something to watch and be excited about. So yeah,
indeed, it is definitely interesting, if nothing else. But moving over to your Twitter questions to end the video. The first one comes from Retina, who says, it's been a while since Charlotte was on TV, but considering she has pretty much done it all in WWE now, what's really left for her? She's beaten pretty much everyone, headlined events, etc. Would a move to another company help her career, as unlikely as that is to happen? I
agree with that last sentiment, really. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I was thinking about this the other night. It's if Andrade, not just Andrade, automatically I'm jumping ahead to something later on in my point, but if Charlotte was to come back, she's kind of faced everyone. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things. I think Bianca Belair may be the most fresh idea that I could think of, the forefront of my mind, but maybe there's some clout backstage to nudge Mr. Papa H into bringing a husband into the company, and then they could do something, have a partnership. I don't know. She's been very vocal about the fact that she does miss not traveling around with him and having that person on the road with her. So you could see it happening, maybe, just to link it with the match that's just been announced on Rampage. But outside of that, she's literally faced Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch, both at WrestleMania. She's faced Sasha Banks, technically, at WrestleMania within an epic triple threat. The Bayley stuff, maybe? But I feel like that was at the center of Bayley's heel turn, if I remember rightly. That was a big thing. So she's done that as well. I don't know. It's one of them. Maybe it's new talent coming up from NXT, the new people that have come back to WWE recently, which I'm sure you're pretty excited about. There's a potential matchup there already.
Yeah, 100% Candice LeRae. But get back in and put her against Candice LeRae. Proper hot white meat, fiery baby face in Candice LeRae, going up against the queen heel, better than everyone. Yeah. Charlotte, massively established on the main roster. I think that's the position I would use Charlotte in within WWE. I don't see her going anywhere else. I don't know why. She just seems like a bit of a lifer, especially if reports about Andrade not being happy are true. Then she's gonna obviously hear that and think, oh, maybe I don't want to go there. But use her as this massively established top tier star that new younger people can she can elevate them, and then they have to eventually go through her to reach the next level. Use her to lift up the rest of the roster. There's a bunch of new people coming through, Raquel Rodriguez, Shotzi as well, kind of a renewed push for Shotzi. It'd be an interesting thing because I think she only ever really got squashed by Charlotte, and that's about it originally. So there is new things that you can do there, but use her to elevate people rather than just put her at the top of the card and leave her as the champion forever and ever and ever like they have done in the past. But there's definitely a lot of upsides to Charlotte. So the next question comes from Brennan Memmering, who says, what is your favorite non-world championship title design ever?
Ooh, that is interesting. I mean, for me, I kind of grew up enjoying wrestling and becoming a fan of wrestling when the ovalish Intercontinental Championship was a thing. You know, the one before Cody Rhodes changed it. It was great. I love that. Always makes me think of Shelton Benjamin. Don't know why. So I like that one.
Nice. That was one of mine as well. Always liked it. What else have we got? I always like the US title design. I think that's just always been.
Yeah, the spinner, the John Cena one. Yeah, you look.
Not the spinner one. Oh. The other ones, the other two, has always been nice. And just leaving WWE, the junior heavyweight title in New Japan is lovely.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's a nice
But the final question
Spin it was the best. Spin it. What?
Spin it, yeah. Spin a US title, best title ever. Not. The final question of the day comes from Sean Merriman, who says, what's the one wrestling move that you would hate to have to take? Mine is honestly the cannonball in the corner, because it seems like it's always massive guys who do it, like Kevin Owens and Brody King, and it just looks violent as hell to be on the receiving end of that.
Don't like that, and that's made me think of the move that I really don't want to have done to me, no matter who's doing it, to be honest, because the person who's doing it right now seems like a lovely woman, but I don't want to get hip attacked by Tony Storm in the corner, ever. No, don't like it. I know there's like some dark arts that go into making it look as painful as it does, but I don't care. The way it looks terrifies me, and I don't want to have like my neck snap back in between it. No, don't like it, that one.
Yeah, but I would go with anything where your head is settling towards the ground with little chance to stop it. I remember my brother tombstoned me once when I was younger, and it was terrifying. We had an interesting relationship. So anything like that, I don't like. But the Styles Clash, I don't know why. That just because your arms are locked back as well. That just seems like absolutely terrifying.
If you go full Ellsworth, that's not good. The Hidden Blade as well, yeah.
Because you can't even see it coming to protect yourself. I don't understand how people take that move, and he launches into it so goddamn hard. I don't understand that move at all. Don't get it.
Yeah. Don't like it.
On that note, let us know in the comments below what your scariest wrestling moves are, do you think? And yes, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Like I say, comment down below about all of today's stories. Let us know what you think. Ups and downs for Rampage and Dynamite are coming. Rampage and Dynamite, Rampage and SmackDown are coming, so check those out. Follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at PhilMyChambers, and you can follow Garrett
at GMorgan04.
And you can follow all of us at WhatCulture WWE. But most importantly, have yourselves a bloody good day.
Bye-bye.